I just get an audio check from you guys?
Check. How do I sound?
You're sounding good. I think we have audio now, and we are also live. Sorry about that brief interruption. Had to restart OBS. I think we're looking good. Can we get a thumbs up from somebody out there on the internet to let us know that we're sounding good?
Seems like Almira's saying everything is good to go.
All right, roll us in.
All right, well, everyone, welcome back to the Op Show Live, where we bring you the trials and tribulations, the automations, and collaborations from the world of DevOps and the greater developer experience. I'm your host, Tristan Pollock, as always, the CTO.ai founder, Cal Campbell. In our best show yet, we have Fatih Acet, co-founder and CTO of SuperPeer, a platform for video mentorship. Also doing some live streaming now, we hear. And Fatih was also the second front-end developer at GitLab. Really excited. We're really excited to talk about your adventures in serverless and how you scaled your end team to 17. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, get us, kick us off a little bit with, we always like to ask, how did you get into code originally? Like, what's your code story? How did you jump into this journey? And, what sort of trials did you go through?
Okay. So I actually started software engineering like 12 years ago. And at that time, it's like basically like what we call old style tools, right? We were doing like this, and then like we were doing front end and back end at the same time. And then at that time, it's basically like there is the concept of separation between front end and back end started to happen. And I heard that they are actually paying more for front end engineers, front end folks, and I was like, okay, that's something I can do. And then ever since I do mostly front end stuff. I enjoy creating the UI. Actually, pressing that button. There are huge stuff on the scene on the backend side behind the scenes, but it's actually it got me really excited for this pressing the button and things happening on the front end side. So that's basically I love more. And then ever since then, like doing really front end, I'm really happy with that. Other than that, so worked for some companies in Turkey and then moved to San Francisco to work at Coding, and then worked there for years, 2 years remotely from Turkey also, and then started to work with GitLab. And I was like employee 50 or something. There was really no only my engineering manager and Jacob Schatz at that time. And then there was a couple front-end engineers really. And then when I and then we started to build the company, like the front-end hiring. We hired a lot of people on the front-end side of GitLab, and then worked there like 4 years. Just before I found SuperPeer with my co-founder. So here we are. It's like 12 years or so.
12 years. That's a good journey.
Yeah. When you were, we think a lot about the user experience for developers and making that really clean and well designed. Like, how did that feel going into GitLab and being so early on the front end side? Like, how was that kind of leveraged internally, and what was the thinking around how do we design these tools to be very like the UX UI really great versus make sure that they're functioning well in the back end?
Yeah, it was basically a lot of challenge, right? So since you are the early employees of a really company looks promising 4 years ago, right now they are unicorn, and so it's really big. You feel that, and then it's a really huge project, and then you being like really early employees, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to make sure that it's running, it's scalable, and then that the code was basically it was all around jQuery. It's like 1,500 lines of jQuery scripts, like really not manageable. We needed to make it more modern. There was no npm, there was no ESLint or all these kind of tools, and so we basically we basically edit them one by one, since since we were in a really big competition with GitHub and then all these other tools. So you cannot say, okay, we will stop, we will drop everything and then rewrite this and make this better. It doesn't work in that way with that kind of organizations. So you have to ship while you are making your internal stuff better. So that was a really big challenge, but I guess we did a really great job there over the 4 years, close to 4 years. It was 3 years and 10 months, so really close to 4 years. When I left the company, it was like 60 front-end engineers or so.
Wow.
That was a really quite ride.
One of the things I'm really curious to unpack here before we dive into kind of like how you approach things in SuperPeer is the idea of sort of this dichotomy between doing things well and sort of supporting and scaling. This is a topic that we talk about a lot, especially in early stage high growth businesses. And someone like I think it's Reid Hoffman talks about this from the perspective of like there's fires burning in a startup. You got big fires, you got small fires, and you're never going to put out all the fires, right? jQuery, that's an example of a fire, and finding that compromise. Yeah. For you to go through that experience and be sort of so early on and then see it to go to 60, what kind of advice would you give to engineers about managing that dichotomy and sort of like the frame of thinking for how they prioritize different kinds of technology to both do a good job that they're proud of, right? Refining the front end framework, but also supporting that rapid growth of what was obviously like a team that was growing super quickly. And that's a really hard challenge for people. And I assume, in the follow-up question that it really influenced how you think about software development now at SuperPeer with your team. Yeah.
Mentioned like in the previous question, like you cannot say, okay, we will rewrite this. You cannot take that, I will say risk, right? Because you are in a competition, you have to go fast, and then but you also ship like crazy. GitLab, there was a approach, move fast, break things. That was basically the approach. We have to move fast, and we were accepting that like things can be broken, right? So things can be broken. So all these things was really the philosophy of the company, but we have to make sure that we were delivering. And at that time, you cannot say, I will rewrite this. What I could say to others is, you have to do things like progressively, right? You say, okay, so if there was an approach, if things are working, just let it. But if you are touching this part, make it better. So if you like this part will stay working, and then if we really want to build things upon the existing things, we first say that, okay, so can we make it better without touching the old part? If the answer is no, we say, okay, we have to first remove the technical debt here to make it better, to make the foundation better, the structure better, and then we put things on top of that. So that was the approach, and it took really long time, but the outcome was really nice. And then some other things, like especially with the technical stack, we were using CoffeeScript when I joined GitLab. CoffeeScript was at that time really popular, but ESLint was ES5, ES6 was really catching up. So the difference between them was really closing, and at that time, CoffeeScript was not feeling like, okay, we need to use this. It's like feels like outdated, and it was really hard to find contributors. They know CoffeeScript really well, so that was a barrier. So what we did was really interesting. I will say. We couldn't take the risk breaking things, right? We cannot say, okay, we drop CoffeeScript and rewrite everything with JavaScript, ES6. No, we cannot take that chance. And then what we did was basically compile everything to JavaScript with CoffeeScript compiler. And then at that time, since the building of front-end code was doing the same, it was basically, the code was not looking really good, but we are 100% sure it will work, and it worked. But the code was basically just so bad. And then with the help of community, we basically make it better in a really, I will say, a month or so. Every developer touched that part, they make it better. They make it more readable. And I still remember that day. It was a Saturday night for me, and Saturday. So we basically pushed everything. I pushed that commit. It says yes 6 all the things. It was basically literally like I basically make a push to create the merge request. It was basically like all the lines in JavaScript was telling me Fatih Acet, right? Everyone was coming to me, hey, why did you write this? No, I didn't write this, but basically we basically
so you took
that,
the coffee script generated JavaScript and just said, okay, we're going to start at that, and we're going to work our ways backwards from this transpiled output of the code, and we're going to make it work backwards to human readable code that we can understand.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And then we make it better. Like every developer touched that part, they made it better.
That's a big move and a big commit that you made right there. I bet you were getting Git blamed for years to come.
Yeah, well, really not, right?
Okay.
I'm also quite surprised to see that, since every line in GitLab frontend in JavaScript part was blaming to me, and then really no, like in no time.
Yeah.
It was I was like, okay, so like it. Even I was a GitLab employee, so I pull from master and I see things added there. I was like, okay, this is a really cool feature. And then you click that page, and there is another feature there. It was like a machine, like so that's why it's like within no time, it's basically be changed, like blame was not actually blaming me. So
that's
so
awesome.
That's good.
That's a real interesting shift. I mean, one of the things I think is super interesting is this idea of sort of maybe rebuilding the plane or swapping out the engine while it's mid-flight. That's a great example, and sometimes you sort of just have to do that. But figuring out what the right time to do that is, and what the right approach to keep the plane at very least coasting, if not heading in that right direction, is a real skill. How did that influence now as you come into SuperPeer and you start building this team, this company from first principles? How did that shape your thinking, and how did it change the strategies that you use to sort of proactively plan for that sort of high growth future? Because I know GitLab came out of the open source community, got really popular really quickly, so it's harder to sort of proactively plan for that, right? But you must have been you must have an ability to be very intentional as you started building SuperPeer and learn from all of those experiences.
Exactly. I recently tweeted that the hoodie is still here. It was in the background when last week we did this SuperPeer live stream for the first time. There was a hoodie, and after that the live stream, I realized that GitLab is really a big portion of my career. Like it's like 1/3 of my career, and I'm 32 years old, and it's basically like 10, 17, I don't know, % of my life. And since we actually, when I was joining the company, it's like basically like 40 people. When I left the company, it's 1,200. Wow. Sorry, 1,200 exactly.
It's huge.
1,000. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And then the most of the thing I realize, right now SuperPeer is 17 engineers, and then like 17 engineers, and I will say design team doesn't report to me, but works closely to me. It's the four people also on design, and we are all remote team. And I feel like, okay, I learned that at remote team how you should structure it, how you should manage a team. So I learned from the best, I will say.
What are some of those key lessons that you learned about it? Because I think that's relevant to everybody in this era now, where everybody's learning about and I know GitLab does a lot to talk about how to do remote. But what's your experience?
Exactly. I'm working remotely the last 8 years.
Yeah.
So it was way before COVID, and the first thing I will say, communication. Like you have to communicate everything. You have to tell things. Tell your folks that okay, we can actually handle this together, right? So the first thing is communication, and then there is there are a lot of things that I bring into SuperPeer, brought from GitLab, right? So there is a approach in GitLab says everyone is manager of themselves. Everyone manages themselves. So that's basically I bring into SuperPeer and tell my engineering folks that, hey, you are your own manager. I don't have to manage you. I don't have to ask you how many. Of course, I don't need to ask you how many hours you work today. What is the things that you do, since you do commits, right? So I can understand. Like it's quantable. You understand how they do. And then if there's something else, you can always ask them help. And then since, especially in remote team, everything should be documented. So if I'm not around, you can take a look at the documentation and you can read and you can understand. And we do a lot of internal recordings. That was not in GitLab, but I actually appreciate that, see that it's really becoming really useful for SuperPeer. We have a lot of if I hire a new engineer right now, there are 30 recordings, internal recordings. They will literally watch recordings within a week. A lot of stuff they will know without asking me or without asking anyone. And then there are all the culture, how to build a culture was really important for me, and that's I learned from GitLab. And then I guess the two words I find myself often use in SuperPeer, which is the first one is culture and the second one is feedback. I often find myself repeating these words to my engineering folks because we have to be open feedback and the culture around it. So that's basically everything that I learned from GitLab, my GitLab career. That was a really, really valuable experience. It's a really great experience. And then I worked in another, before GitLab, I worked in another startup which failed, right? And then I basically worked another startup which became a unicorn. So I know how a company goes, fails, and how a company becomes a unicorn. So I'm really, really privileged to have those experience under my belt. So it's really, really great. So just right now trying to build the culture where we can work remotely, and I'm really happy to see that everyone is actually thanking me on our one-on-one, saying that this is a really great company I work. So just communication. I will say the biggest part of that is communication.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about SuperPeer. What is SuperPeer? What's the mission? And then we can dig more into how you built the engineering team and the technologies around serverless.
Yeah, sure. So SuperPeer is a platform. Originally, we built SuperPeer way before. Actually, SuperPeer, the idea was way before COVID itself. So we talk about that, but since we say COVID, I will say people say, okay, it's a really great time to launch a video-related thing, but there is also a disadvantage of that, since everyone actually thought that there's a really great idea, but we were actually thinking on that way before, right? And then our competition channel in Slack was more active, still more active than our general channel. It's like competition all over the place. Yeah. So that's basically the disadvantage, I will say, to our domain, our market due to COVID. So I was not feeling really, since I joined GitLab, it was basically 40 people, right? I have to do a really big part of GitLab. It's but owned by me. I really have to take responsibilities and things like that. And then when the company grow 60 engineers, it's basically we divided into teams, and the teams also divided into 3 teams. So I become this. I own this part of GitLab. It's still valuable since we are excel that area, excel that domain. But it feels like, okay, I am actually not growing here and not going to getting bigger here. And then I was actually looking for a job change. And then my former CEO approached me, said that I am building SuperPeer. At that time, there was it was not SuperPeer. because domain was really hard to find. and then I was like, he offered me CTO and co-founder position. He told me that, okay, let's co-found this and be the CTO. I was like, okay. And then I was really thinking that GitLab is a still company like I really love and really appreciate everything they do to open source community and also the remote working culture. I was like, I'm really happy that I started something on my own instead of working for someone else after leaving GitLab, because GitLab's bar really here. So and then I started SuperPeer. I wrote at that time. There was really nothing working, or there was really no. It was just basically a little concept which you cannot take into the production. So basically, I started to write everything from scratch, and then I hired my first engineer, who was my friend. Worked together a couple years ago, and then hired him to say that, hey, come, let's work together, build this together. He's founding engineer, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 17.
How quickly did you go to 17 engineers on your team?
6 months.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. And then like 6 months, within 6 months, if not 7 months, I will say. And then right now, for the last 2-3 months, we are 17, and 17 is really great spot, because I divide engineering team divided into 4 domains: network accounts, video call, dashboard, and payment. So the teams are basically like 3 people, 4 people, and then they are self-sustainable. We will separate their issue management systems also. We use GitLab for that, of course. So we will separate their issue boards into specific categories, so they will be managing themselves. So that's really sweet spot for us to like 17. Still feels like huge. Feels like we grow so much so quickly, but the culture is really stable still. So that's really great.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of companies that they sort of push past 17, they start to get to 20, 25, and that's where it puts such a pressure on the leader, and it's hard to kind of circle back. I mean, that's definitely something I've seen a lot of times. I've experienced it myself. I think 17 is almost like a nice place to sort of pause for a minute, let things settle in, like you said, start making sure that foundation is strong, and then come back and build on top of it. What's some of the technology decisions? Obviously, the title is scaling with serverless. It sounds like serverless has been a big part of your strategy for how to support these teams. Serverless is something that I've seen a lot of companies struggle with. They're very interested in it because it scales, but it's also one of those things where it's a bit of a new paradigm for how to manage it. So maybe walk us through how you guys have approached serverless, what tools you use, what are the benefits, and what are the challenges that you have to overcome?
Yeah, over the years, I write a lot of backend stuff, but my first, if you ask me what's your first profession, like what is your let's T-shape, what is your T here, I will say front-end, right? Like in this here T-shape, like I have a lot of capabilities. But since that front-end is my T-shape, so I said that like I really don't want to manage servers. And then I was looking. Well, often people ask me, why don't you choose AWS? And I know that how bad their admin UI. So I was like, okay, I will give it a try to Google Cloud Platform. And then I was looking for, especially initially, I was thinking MongoDB and as our database. And then I actually started a POC with Firebase, with Firestore. And the last time I touched the Firebase, it was like 8 years ago or so. There was really no Firestore, no cloud functions, no nothing. It was basically just Firebase was basically just a real-time database. And then they got acquired from Google, by Google, and then they started to become a platform for mobile applications especially. And I take a look at Firebase, like did an investigation, and I was also thinking to use cloud functions, and I see that Firestore works really well with cloud functions. And I was like, okay, I will give this a try. And then asked to my friends, what do you think about this? They say, okay, we deploy like 10, 20 cloud functions. It's really good. And then I actually started writing cloud functions one by one. Cloud functions scaled really well, since they are serverless. You just deploy your functions and then you invoke them. They work really fine, right? But the first since no, yeah, we are still working with SuperPeer. Still works with cloud functions. So there was really no downtime, no scalability, no nothing. Actually, Tristan actually is one of our product account mentors. Since we did product account launch, it was basically 3 a.m. with my time, and I just didn't sleep that night. Was really looking for what is there the production issues and things like that, and I went to bed like 5 a.m. with my time. And then the other day, like it's basically like we have a channel called invite requests in Slack. It was basically like millions of people, like not just it's a lot of people asking invite requests, and I still don't have PagerDuty on my like still don't have PagerDuty. Like I didn't get pinged by any server service errors and things like that. So basically like system was working, so I could sleep. That's a really important and was a really good thing to know that system will work, so I can sleep. But the first thing I realized is quickly realized is cloud functions are really good for things that works on the background, right? For example, you created an account, hit that button, and I will do, create your account on the background, will do collections for you, will send you an email, and then write, some stuff, do this and do that on the background when you click that create account button, right? So right now our approach is, it's like we use cloud functions for application backend. For example, a booking, when you got a booking, the accept button is also a cloud function. And Tristan know that it's basically like when you press that button, it's basically like 8 seconds because of the cold start.
Yeah, we see the same thing with Lambda. You have to set up like a warming function that will continuously warm the Lambda for you.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really work in that way for GCP. But my scalability concern was quite different than others. SuperPeer, especially, not really used by thousands of people. So it's slow because actually no one using that, or there are less people using it.
So there's like a threshold of scale that you need to get to before it starts kicking into a consistency of quality and performance, right?
So my scalability concern was quite the opposite. Like if people start using it, it will be the warm instance will be everywhere, so it will work faster. If you right now go to SuperPeer and click that accept booking button, if it takes like 8 seconds, means that in 15-20 minutes or 30 minutes there was really no one clicked that accept button. So that's why, because you go to you go to a cold instance.
Yeah.
And I originally thought that if I write another cloud function, which is a scheduler, right, and then make a request to my other cloud functions, it could work. Not really in GCP, Google Cloud, because there is a weird limitation with cloud functions. A cloud function can only handle one request at a time. Even if there is a warm instance, okay, you will pick this, but 3 of us at the same time hit that button, 2 of us will go to a cold start. You really cannot eliminate it. Cold start is really not, or you need to do really crazy stuff, like ping them on 15 different IPs, or
So there's less of a sticky session around the actual instance that they provision for you on demand, whereas I think Lambda sets some sort of pooling concept within how they provision so you can get that warm start on Lambda.
Yeah, but with GCP, it's basically not that avoidable. You cannot avoid it, and then because it also goes to the regional constraint, since you are calling it from United States,
right?
I'm calling it from Netherlands, will not go to the same instance. So that was also a concern. That was also a limitation in there also, and we were like, right now we didn't deploy into production because we work on some really big features, and we will do a really big production launch hopefully next week. And right now our production cloud functions are close to, if not more, 80 cloud functions, 85 cloud functions.
Wow.
And then deployment became really hard.
Yeah, and this is the one I was going to ask about, because there's two things that I measure good DevOps practices. One, which is actually the second one, but you mentioned it earlier. How often am I getting woken up at night? It sounds like you're not getting woken up at night with this server downtime. So check that box. The second is how quickly can a junior engineer deploy, meaning like, can they deploy on day one? And this is where I've also seen that threshold of challenge in a lot of companies where especially if you're trying to mentor, junior talent, which I know you're a huge advocate of, the overhead of moving into this sort of, remote development environment almost, and the inability to sort of run it locally like you learn in a boot camp environment, that can be a real challenge for people to think through. I guess, is it the orchestration piece of how you think about those 80 different functions being glued together? It's kind of a distributed system, right?
It is kind of a distributed system, and we can think like everything's like a microservices, right? But I will say they are moving pieces, right? Deployment, actually, you cannot deploy 80 cloud functions at the same time. It has to be done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But since our deployment starts, we update this function, and 80 function will take, let's say, 10 minutes, right? These functions are already changed, but my application code is still didn't get updated, right? So if the function is changed dramatically, right, and then like 10 minutes later, your application frontend, which calls that call, which let's say you change the parameter you pass the cloud function, but the front-end still didn't get changed. And it took like first function to front-end deployment takes like 10, 12, 15 minutes.
Right.
At that time, there could be really, because the old front-end code calls a new cloud function. That was a really, I will say, didn't hit us badly on production. But there is still a chance that I'm really happy to tell you our next deployment to production will be 15 cloud functions, moved everything into Cloud Run, which makes me really, really excited and feels like we are actually doing a proper serverless.
What's the big distinct difference between Cloud Run and how you're approaching the cloud functions? What's the driving pieces? Is it that sort of race condition of compatibility as you're going through the deployment, or is it just more how you're consolidating the cross-cutting concerns so there's less sort of dependency problems as you're releasing software?
The deployments became really hard. It's not like because of developer experience. I also would like to forget to answer your question about developer experience, but let me finish that one. It is really hard to deploy 80 cloud functions because there is a really hard limitation, 50 writes or 40 writes in 60 seconds.
Like a rate limit that you're dealing with.
Rate limit when you deploy. We deploy everything at once because you really don't know what is actually changed. They say okay, only they advise you to only deploy the change stuff. But what if I change the a config or an environment variable, right? And what if I changed or bumped up a dependency version? Yeah. How do you know that which cloud functions uses that? So that's why we say okay, deploy everything at once, and we when we say want to deploy everything, Google Firebase CLI tells us, hey, you hit your rate limit. Retry these functions. Retry these functions. So it basically like quickly became like it works. It works really, really well. But deployment became kind of issue for us. So we got a lot of measures to make it like faster. But even if you make it like really faster at one go, but still there is a first cloud function to last cloud function, and then deployment of front end. So it still feels like so we need to use something else, look for something else. But other than that, it worked really well on production. Not any issues, no downtime, no issues, no nothing. Like everyone, when Tristan uses SuperPeer also, when you get a booking, when you hit that button, I am 100% sure it will work, but 5 seconds, 8 seconds delay. So that is the pros and cons. But I am 100% sure it will work. If there is, of course, there is no bug on the software. But no, there will always be server which will handle that request. That's a really really important for me at this stage, because I really can concentrate on my team, really can concentrate on my product market fit, right? All these things. About developer experience, developers are really happy with that.
Okay.
Since you can run every cloud function on your local machine, you don't have to deploy them. Our developers do not deploy anything into staging or production environments. They don't need to do that. And I learned that you shouldn't really deploy anything into production environment since from your local. So it has to always go with a deployment. You forget to change environment keys and things like that. I know that I did that, accidentally deployed a cloud function in staging configuration to production. Was really not working. So we said, okay, no one will deploy, it's a hard rule, no one will deploy a cloud function from their local to staging, even for staging, right? And then so you run your cloud functions locally. You can work them, you can change them.
Are you working on them in isolation though, and then really you need to depend on staging and production for that integration and holistic testing of the functionality?
Not really. Not like with Firebase CLI, you can run every cloud function.
Okay.
And there is a string. It says cloud functions use function emulator, localhost 5000, which is the port. Every functions goes to localhost 5000 port, and there is an express server wait for that, listens that request, and you basically be on your local environment.
Okay.
Right. If you delete that line, it goes to staging server.
Got it.
So developers are really like, if you say we are SuperPeer frontend is a Vue application. If you say yarn serve or npm run serve and things like that, so the frontend application actually works, and then connects directly to staging server.
Got it. So you can easily back off the local backend and say, hey, I want to test this and test my integrations against staging without ever having to deploy anything. As long as you have that context. That's really nice. It's like a preview environment, basically. Yeah,
it is actually a preview environment. One thing they recently do, they created a Firestore emulator, but it is last time I checked, it was like 2 months ago, or a month or 2 months ago. It was not persistent. You kill the process, or you shut down your computer, or restart your computer. It basically, like every data in Firestore, it's basically it's not persistent.
Got it.
And there is really no point. Tomorrow you will you restart your machine, and it's like every booking, every account created on your local machine is gone. We really didn't want to do that. So for Firestore, every developer connect to staging server. It's not actually staging. There is also another environment, development. We have 3 environments: development, staging, and production. So they really don't connect to staging. But let's say development instance, but they connect to Firebase instance, and everyone connects to one Firebase instance for now for this limitation. If they make it persistent, I believe they will, and then we can basically be working on our local environments. really don't need to internet connection to develop SuperPeer. Right now, you have to, you need to, and yeah. Other than that, we decided to actually move Cloud Run because of these deployments, and Cloud Run at that time was on still handles 80 requests within a container, so it has concurrency with a cold start. A warm instance can handle 80 requests at the same time, so kind of brings a concurrency. But all these 80 requests share the same resource, so it's not like every function call or every Cloud Run endpoint call triggers a new machine. No, you will share your resource, but you can actually call them concurrently. So that was our idea. And then when we start doing a POC of migrating Cloud Functions to Cloud Run dropped their really big announcements. They told that you can now set minimum instances.
Okay.
We set for production at 5, which means there will always be 5 Cloud Run instances always available. So it eliminated all the cold starts.
That's huge. And then you can scale it up if you need to, or scale it down if you need to.
That's huge. So it's basically 5 minimum and 1,000 set to 1,000 as maximum.
Mm-hmm.
So it is literally, Tristan, you will basically appreciate that, man. When you click accept button, it will basically like 300 milliseconds. Finally, I was looking for that for a really, really long time. And I knew 10 years ago, we were basically working with SLAs. Like if a request more than 250 milliseconds, they were asking us that, hey, you need to make this faster. 400 milliseconds was not acceptable. This was 10 years ago. Right now, a company, and I'm being a CTO, when you click that button, it's 8 seconds. I was like, I need to fix this some point in the future. But really happy that I didn't make this my concern at that time.
Yeah.
Right now, we have Cloud Run, and Cloud Run, really lucky time for us. They announced that minimum instances, when you deploy, you say minimum instances 5, minimum instances 10, however your load is, and then there's no cold starts right now. Also, one thing that I would like to mention here, if folks are looking from thinking on migrating from Cloud Functions to Cloud Run, I did kind of reverse engineering on Cloud Functions. Every Cloud Function, when you run a Cloud Function, the first argument is data, and the second argument is context. Context is an argument tells me who is the user of making this request, right? And then with Cloud Run migration, you pass data, but the context is missing. SuperPeer is a Node application. We use Node on the Express. So and since with Cloud Run endpoints, we do Axios requests, Ajax requests. Mm-hmm. So I kind of debugged and reverse engineered that how Cloud Functions run, and see that they pass a authorization token, bearer token, of course. And I sent this token into backend. And then at backend, I need to convert that token into context object, so I can pass my Cloud Run endpoints. And there was a function, I'm not sure the name, find credentials or sign in, or takes the JWT token and converts it into Firebase out object. We did this in a middleware, and then passed into the request object, request.context equals this Firebase object, and passed it into my Cloud Functions body. So it was basically me changing the signature of the function and leave REST and migrate everything from Cloud Functions to Cloud Run. Okay. So I'm 100% sure that if I click a button on the front end, if it's not 500, since I basically called it wrong, or my point is like the application logic, we didn't touch the application logic. We just changed the signature, and I'm 100% sure it will work.
Got
Either
it.
it's like 500 really not working, nothing there, or it will work.
Sort of a
So that was
polyfill for the different signatures of the different applications or the different serverless.
yeah.
Right.
Only thing that we were using Firebase JS on the front end side. We say firebase.functions.https callable. We change them with Axios. Like if you, for example, forget a slash, it will not work. But if you manage the call proper API, the correct cloud function, now it's cloud run. The application logic didn't change, so there is really shouldn't be a really breaking changes on my next cloud. Fingers crossed, of course.
So when does this go live? When's the launch, the big red button moment where this goes live? Is it live now, or it sounded like you're about to release it?
Yeah, so SuperPeer is on production more than close to a year, of course. But with cloud functions, our next production deployment, we don't deploy the production close to 2 months. We only do hot fixes, some small stuff. But the next major deployment will be within next week.
Exciting.
Wednesday or so. Yeah, really excited. SuperPeer uses Stripe. Accepting payments is easy, but paying Tristan, since he does calls,
right,
it's a challenge.
Do you Slack Connect or something like that, or?
We use Stripe Connect, but it is limited to 40 countries. Stripe Connect, yeah, it's limited to 40 countries, and then SuperPeer is limited to 40 countries. We did change our payout backend to use something else. It's called payment rails. So we changed the whole payment backend, and then right now with that deploy SuperPeer will be available for 220 plus countries.
Wow.
So it's a really huge, like we did new video call UI. We bring live streams. We allow you to create events. Also, global expansion to 220 countries. And then Tristan, we give you Messenger finally, man. And then all these things will be deployed next week with Cloud Run. There are only I guess there is 18 or close to 20 cloud functions still remaining. These are background tasks. For example, when you upload an avatar profile picture, we resize it. So it still needs to be there. But deploying 20 cloud functions and they are background jobs, really not, and we can actually say that if we touch this, we can actually we do only deploy things changed, since they are not application backend. They are basically background tasks, and most of them are basically one for example, when someone click create booking button, we write something into Firestore, and then there is a cloud function triggers and sends emails and sends an event to our Slack. Say that someone book Tristan at this time. Kind of events goes into our Slack channel, and then sends you emails, and all these things. The post processing stuff are done by cloud functions, and we will only be deploying these cloud functions. But all the application backend will be running Cloud Run. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And also, Cloud Run, they made it enterprise ready. So it feels like, the feature of serverless, and it feels like proper serverless finally we are doing. So yeah, really excited for that Cloud Run migration.
I love your energy, your excitement around it is infectious. I love how much you've been able to simplify and optimize around this. We'll have to follow up with this on the blog, I think, and outline some of the process that you created around how to, simplify and make your serverless so efficient.
We should drop a link to your SuperPeer booking account too, Tristan.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if anyone needs product hunt support, and startup mentorship.
Yeah, I think we can both vote for Tristan's skill set there. Yeah.
I think SuperPeer really is one of the most simple tools that I've seen for mentorship, and it's fun to use, really easy, and just super straightforward, and really like reflects like your simple backend kind of reflects our theories around how to simplify the the process around DevOps, as well as developer tools, but also like your front end and that well designed like UX UI is like it kind of, we have some very similar philosophies. So it's been great to kind of hear your story throughout this hour. And as we kind of get to a couple of minutes left here, any other shout outs, any other favorite tools that you have that you want to share with the audience?
SuperPeer is 100% serverless. That was a one server. I shut it down a couple weeks ago.
That must have felt good. Press the shutdown button. Bye bye.
It was an analytics server. It's called Metabase, and yeah, Metabase really deserves a shout out here. Cool. It was a Metabase. It was a VM instance from GCP. I spinned up and installed Metabase. It's a jar file. You just execute it, and I run it with MySQL. And then for some reason, it was basically became like unreachable. The reason is that for some reason the MySQL temp files becoming really huge, and there is no disk in server. So I was like, okay, I really shouldn't be managing servers like. And then a couple of weeks ago, Metabase emailed me saying that we announced Metabase hosted. And I was like, okay, shut up and take my money. I really want you to give money. And then that was the last server. It was not a production server, of course. It was basically for us to have some analytics and some query on production data. And then just shut it down, and it's 100% serverless right now. For video calls, there's a really interesting story also in there. We started to use Twilio, and then decided to replace it with Agora, and then decided to we started to experiment with Agora, and then we find that since we already have something running on production, so we know that what is our expectations from a video client, call client, a service. Agora was not meeting them, and then we decided to use Vonash. Maybe the open TalkBox. It's like a 10 years of they have 10 years of experience in video call domain, but got acquired from a company called Vonash. So it's TalkBox, but new name is Vonash. So we decided to use them, and the next deployment will also change our video call provider. We were actually A/B testing it on production close to 2 months. We got really great feedback on this, and the new UI basically looks really nice. I'm really also excited on this. Metabase definitely deserves and shout out here, and Vonash on video call end definitely deserves, and Stripe of course. There's really no payment rails video. We will be sending SuperPeer's money to their bank accounts with payment rails starting next week or somewhere like that. And then, yeah, I guess that's it. We'll basically, it's like tying or connecting all these APIs and together and creating I appreciate that. It's really cool.
It's like a real serverless environment. I love how proud you are to not have to manage servers. I think that's a really cool thing to aim for in a small company, a small team, where you're getting the highest focus, like you said, on your team, on the culture, on the product market fit, and you're spending less time managing. Yeah, we actually have a DevOps people, DevOps person in our team. And I was like, are you really sure that you want to work with us, since our whole DevOps is like 100 lines of GitLab CI YAML? I was like, I'm not sure if this is the right place for you. And she's also a backend engineer. So, but
she was the one who lead these cloud functions to cloud run migration, and I was like, there is something that I can actually give to you, but other than that, you should be okay to writing some backend code. And she's really great person. So we are working really closely together. But the point is, at some point in the future, we can say, okay, we can go back to the proper server architecture. We can go back to PostgreSQL. We can go back, I don't know, all these classical server approach. But right now, no, I'm really happy with this. But in the future, we can do that. But at that time, I will be hiring really top talent DevOps engineers. I have to make sure that our production will be 100% up and running, right? So not this time, not this stage. Right now, I love being serverless, and the costs are. I can actually share my screen and show to you.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, because this is, I think, one of the myths of serverless. People think that serverless is more expensive, and
well, really no. Like these are Cloud Firestore, and I can actually these are collections. I can make this a little bigger. Yeah, and then these are collections and. Current quota period, we can make this. These are staging environment, by the way, and let's make it last 30 days. Yeah, we have 5.2 million reads in here, and let's go to
look at that line.
Billing.
Yeah,
it's 774 Turkish liras, and I can do this.
Can we convert that into, maybe let's go with USD or Canadian for the moment. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
$100.
So, $100.
Wow.
$100 for our staging server. These and I can assure you, these 5 million reads are really not not something It's a lot of requests, by the way. With this cost, I'm like, okay, so right now we didn't hit that only non-fiber services 760 Turkish liras, which is like $97, but yeah, Cloud Firestore is just 7 lira, which is, yeah, let me do this, $0.88.
That's incredibly cheap.
I can actually, yeah, let me show you my production. See this? It's basically 155 since this month, October 2020. I can go to September, 163 Turkish lira. It's like $20.
Wow. It's
yeah.
It's the same as a typical average SaaS software is.
Exactly, because the quota are the free quota from Google Cloud, especially in Firebase and Google Cloud, is really generous.
Yeah. So
you have to have that limit to start paying, and I would love to pay $1,000, $5,000 to Google Cloud Platform, since at that time it means that SuperPeer is really big project and people actually we found for the product market fit, and since it's a paid product, right? I wouldn't mind paying, and since we funded, and also would like to bring the news here. We launched on January. Wait a second. We launched on January and then got $2.8 million investment on February, and since we got the term sheet, I can say we actually closed $6.5 million investment round.
Wow.
So this is exclusive to offshore audience.
Whoa, big news. That's what I was going to ask. Are we getting a big news exclusive here? When did
it is exclusive.
When did that close? And this is the first we're hearing about it.
We got the term sheet recently, and then since we got the term sheet recently, we didn't do any TechCrunch article or things like that. But since we got the term sheet and we actually it's rolling, so we are thinking to announce it maybe next month or after our production launch. So
that's great, man. Well, we're super excited for all your success. Love what you're doing. Love how you shared just how much leverage you're getting out of things like serverless, and we're big fans. We'll make sure we drop the booking link to Tristan there as well, because we know he's going to be in high demand for people who want to launch on Product Hunt. Especially after they hear the news about you guys closing this big round, which I'm sure has been an exciting thing for you to go through.
Yeah, sure. Tristan, how was your experience? Would you mind, telling a bit about your SuperPeer video call experience, and then actually asking these, since I'm reaching you and asking you your experience, right? So that's the most valuable thing in SuperPeer. That's why we built SuperPeer, and I booked Tristan to say welcome, and that was a really great conversation. He already told his really great experience, and it's like so I was like, okay, so that's why I built this tool.
That's why it's so cool. Like now that you kind of live and breathe your own product. You're like using it like
we do not use Zoom. We do every call in SuperPeer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we do not use Zoom. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, that and then that's how we met, and now you're here. And I mean, I think I loved hearing your story too, of like how you're like literally like we're tracking every single video call with like a 5-star rating, and getting that feedback loop like instantly right after every call, because if that doesn't work, then the whole product doesn't work. And like, how do we
exactly
keep getting better, iterating and tracking everything? So I think you're like keeping that like observability high on the parts of the product that really matter was really impressive to me. And I just love I love the product. I mean, I'm a big fan of mentorship. I think mentorship is really valuable, and it's probably one of the things that can help you make less mistakes and improve your mental health and do all these sorts of things for you. And so I think, the SuperPeer platform is something that I haven't really seen anyone really nail, and the kind of fun and like engaging, but also really simple, and like taking like the thinking out of it, that in a way that just made it really a really enjoyable experience. And I've played with so many different mentorship platforms, and I think that you guys just really you've found something really special there.
Yeah, we actually don't want to tell ourselves an expert network, and I mentioned that finding the name was really hard, because you cannot say influencer, right? You cannot say expert. So we SuperPeer actually fits both of them and the other other categories. So it was really hard to find. And if you notice, Tristan, there is no SuperPeer logo on your profile page. SuperPeer.com/Tristan Pollock. There is no SuperPeer logo in there, because no, there is no logo.
The hang loose or no?
There is only one logo, like kind of watermark in your profile video. But other than that, in page, there is no footer, there is no SuperPeer logo at the top. I can actually share screen.
Yeah, show Tristan's profile.
Yeah. SuperPeer.com, Tristan Pollock, yeah. So here, so there's only one, this kind of watermark, but it's really subtle. And then there is no logo here, there is no branding here, because we say this page belongs to Tristan, right? It can be, it should be less SuperPeer page. And then if we go to homepage, see, we do not have any. There is no link that there is no search here. There is no listing people. Like if I list people, and like Tristan say 2x founder, right? And let's go, let's say his rate is $100, right? And then if I list someone underneath Tristan, and if they say $50 or $150, like you kind of think that it's money incentivized, right? But here in SuperPeer, we say, okay, so I knew Tristan and I want to talk to him. I shouldn't be doing the listing. Product Hunt can do listing. Other tools can do listing. And they are basically, trusted entities. Like if you see Tristan on Product Hunt, even if you don't know him, that's a rare chance. And then you will be saying that, okay, if Product Hunt put his name on there, I can actually go and talk to him. But if I list people on SuperPeer, we say right now let's not do that. Let's not be an average expert network or a directory of people. We don't want to do that for now, and hopefully we will. Since we are an early stage startup, we do not have search, but it really I can actually deploy search by tomorrow into production. That's actually an approach on our end. It's like an idealistic approach. Hopefully, we will, find product market fit. We will, kickstart this business and up and running, and then we, hopefully, we will not listing folks and things like that. But well, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we do not want to do that. Since we need to survive.
Sounds like you're heading in the right direction to me.
Yeah.
Well, where's the best place we can find you online besides SuperPeer?
So my name is Fatih Acet, and I am Fatih Acet in every other platform. It's just like
Easy
Twitter,
enough.
Twitter.com/Fatih Acet, and Twitter, GitHub, GitLab, SuperPeer, Instagram, like all these platforms. I am Fatih Acet, yeah.
All right, we'll drop some in there. What's your favorite? You're on Twitter the most, or?
I use Twitter the most, yeah.
Okay, well we'll put that in the link drop, and I think that's about time to wrap up.
It's a good one.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for going so in depth and even giving us the down to the dollar amount on some of your cloud costs, and it was really great to see. And I think we'll probably have to follow up with this and break it down on the blog so that everyone has a resource for some of these the tools and tips and tricks for serverless, especially at a startup stage.
Mm-hmm. I also would like to mention it's just basically the cost of one serverless part of the organization or the project. That we have video call cost, we have this cost, Stripe cost, and then payment rails cost, all these costs. But actually the serverless costs of database and cloud functions is that amount of in production.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Small.
Yeah.
All right. I really enjoy the show. Thank you for your great conversation. That's really entertaining an hour.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. And
thank you for having me.
That's all we have time for today. Remember to click subscribe or the heart on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, and we have weekly shows and videos every week. That's it for the Op Show today. Take us out, Kyle.
All right.